Welcome to Rauta's Indie 5. 5 older releases for your listening pleasure, or at least to give a little bit of an indication of what's going on. Now, these 5 releases which I am holding right now are all quite older. The oldest one of these being from 2010, and that's the latest one, something like 2018. So they have been here waiting for quite some time. Now, these are all from different sources. One of them, for example, was handed me over at Steelfest a couple of years ago, and some of them have been arriving here and there between, and they have been waiting for their turn because of the newer ones. So, once again, I apologize those who had to wait, but as you know, they're relevant. The new ones are always there in line first. Now let's get it going. I'm not going to use Metal Archive so much on the background, but I'm going to guide you through with the bands in question, going once again in alphabetical order. We'll first travel to Netherlands with Mordancy with the Anthology 1989-1993 release. So technically speaking, a compilation of sorts. Now this is a band that lived a very short career, making their somewhat what could be described as progressive death thrash metal. And they did not much during those years. In fact, this title is a little bit misleading, given that all these recordings are from 1991 to 1993, and starting with 1992 demo. So first there are 6 tracks as a demo, the kind of a main deal here, then a couple of live tracks, and then 3 rehearsal tracks. The demo is actually a pretty nicely sounding one. It features the band's the only demo so far, and well, that's pretty much what there is to say about it. Progressive death thrash, and there's even a short interview with this CD inlay. And then these live tracks which are there to complement the actual demo, and then there's rehearsal tracks. Now, to me it feels like those live tracks, which are not too shabby in sound-wise, and as well as those rehearsal tracks, which are, what could be said, same words apply, not too shabby, once again, in production and all that stuff. So the main dish here is actually those 6 tracks demo ones. And that's something the band is kind of showing. Okay, we got the skills to play these songs, we have a vision what to do and all that stuff. But let's be honest about it, it's very much a first demo by a band that isn't yet ready to conquer the world. And then nothing basically happened. The band just disbanded and never came back. Now the good thing is there is no overlapping with those tracks there. So it's not like first you have the demo and then you have other versions of those same songs. So they're all individual tracks, but let's be honest about it, those bonus tracks, if you will, they don't really save it. Unless you are really into the demo material, then this is worth buying for, but you really don't need that extra stuff. It's more of a kind of adding to your collection rather than anything else. A decent release in a way, but to be honest, for collectors only, kind of a mediocre in so many ways. Then there's another band from Netherlands. This is Remain Untamed, and this is the only release by the very band so far, it seems. And the style here is kind of a crossover thrash metal. I kind of want to say it's just thrash metal with death metal vocals without being death thrash, and now it seems I'm breaking this jewel case here with absolute power, destroying it. Now, Remain Untamed is an interesting case because they clearly show a potential to be some kind of a future thrash classic, but this one, the self-titled MCD, is not there yet. So all these 5 guys, they show potential in songwriting. They have really nice ways of doing that in terms of production. The vocals are a little bit something that you might get used to because they're kind of a crawler side, actually reminding me of Vader's Piotr sounding vocals in a kind of a growler ways. Not pure death metal growling, but a little bit in that direction. The band shows potential to be there with their thrash metal, but this is just not there. Much like a first demo by any given band, and there it is. But given that it's the only release so far, one can only wait to see what will happen. These 2 first ones are actually Headbangers records releases, if I'm not mistaken. So in case you want to listen to them, go for the label. Then comes a band from United Kingdom, and this is a CDR copy. So nothing here. It seems like this is handmade, kind of a do-it-yourself version of what there might have been released in other format. I'm not exactly sure. It says label, but then again, what I have here is a Maxell CDR, which is 2018 release called Jera. This is the first release by the band that seems to have been a trio back in the days, but they are 4-member as well, session member I guess, and nowadays, at least according to Metal Archives, there are only 2 people in the band. The style is melodic, atmospheric black metal. Now, when it's at its most beautiful parts and most kind of easygoing, it's actually more like keyboards being played with birds singing on the background, some drums and no guitar. And when it's at its most extreme, it's kind of atmospheric, melancholic nature black metal in a kind of a nice ways. Now the downside is this album never reaches its climax. It's more about like, okay, we got these nice melodies, we have this nice atmosphere, but we don't know how to, include those catchier parts. So I must say, Sargoth is quite nice. I'm actually enjoying this album quite a bit, but it leaves so much to hope for. It's more like we're going, but we never made it to the goal. But definitely we're taking a look. There's also a second album out by the band as of 2020. Who knows, it might be better. I haven't yet heard it, but at least this piqued my interest towards it. And then we have this album from Poland, which was handed me at Steelfest 2019. This is a band called Sigil, with an album called Trauermärsche and a Tango Up on the World's Grave. What a weird title. Now, this is also a very weird band. This is one of the most original sounding bands what I've heard for a long time, but unfortunately not in a good way. Comes in a nice digipack release by Arachnophobia Records from Poland, and the style is saxophone driven black metal, I guess. Well, actually this is not so much black metal, maybe more than aesthetics and inverted crosses and all that stuff. It's more like kind of a combination of drone and doom, even kind of sludgy feeling, and then a little bit of black metal. So it's kind of a mess all over. And now the interesting thing is bass and drum are mostly doing this kind of a background stuff with its slow tempo and all, where the saxophone is creating all the melodies, all the leads, and there is no guitar at all. And then they have these high-pitched screamy vocals, which are, in my opinion, quite shitty. And it's like going different places with different genres. To be honest, I don't know which kind of people this is meant for. Because now it seems like there's so much passion to use the saxophone, but the songs are not that good. And in my opinion, the lack of proper use for bass guitar is just waste of time, because now it's more like leaning on the background, as with many other guitar-driven bands, where it could have been taking the leading role to just have way more stuff happening instead of just letting the saxophone do these, melodies and kind of solos, if you will. In my opinion, a potential wasted, but who knows where this band will eventually evolve. Kind of a nice idea, but the execution, not so much. And then last and the least, unfortunately, this one comes from United States of America, California. Willow Wisp with the album called Antihuman Manifesto. This is as old as 2010. And I promised to take this for review because the band member, one of them, got in contact with me a couple of years ago. And I said, why not? Because I'm sucker for saying like, no. I guess I should have, because unfortunately now I'm going to be this really, really negative Joe saying not so nice things about this album. Now, this band was labeled as on Metal Archives as gothic metal, black metal band, and I really don't know where this gothic thing is coming from, except for this makeup part, because these guys look like they have been listening to a lot of Cradle Fills. There are more wild images on the site, on Metal Archives and their own Facebook site, I guess. But musically, this has nothing to do with something that you might consider gothic metal. In fact, this is something that I would call crossover black metal. I think that's the way to do it, or experimental black metal, because this is not your typical thing. Now, the funny thing is, the drummer plays pretty kind of normal beats and, drums, and there's nothing to complain about that. And the vocals try so hard to do those high-pitched scream and make it work. But what is really problematic with this album is the use of not only those vocals, because they're all the growlier parts, and it gets kind of a messy and like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing kind of a feeling. But even worse than that is the guitar work, because sometimes the guitarist is like I don't know, maybe on drugs or something, but it goes all over these weird places, making no sense whatsoever. And even with my first spin, and I gave this 45 minutes of an album 3 full spins, already on my first listen I was like, man, this is torture to listen to. This is that horrible. Now, I don't want to be this negative Joe, like I said. I don't mean anything personal against the bands. For example, why could I be mad about this guy who sent me the CD? So I'm kind of apologetic to say that this is horrible release. There is absolutely nothing really good about this album that I could be saying. So I don't know to which kind of people I would even recommend this to. Freaks maybe. And not that they have anything against freaks. I'm just saying musically, in terms of songwriting, this is a really horrible piece of crap. When it comes to the production, it feels like this was given birth at somebody's garage. Not exactly horrible, but quite bad. And those vocals, well, they would definitely take the benefit of, having a few lessons or just having some more power and understanding in the terms of how to do those vocals at least somewhat appealing, even in the terms of extreme metal. Like, add more power to those crawly parts, add more passion and craziness to those screamy parts. Now it feels like my first black metal album ever. Don't do it. I guess the only decent thing on this album is drumming, which isn't exactly the most creative thing, but at least it's not annoying me to at least one bit. It is just doing its job, and I can only imagine the drummer being like, why on earth I am doing drumming for this kind of album? I don't know. Anyway, it's a cult thing, this Willow Wisp all the way from 1987, and that's the best excuse you can have for listening to that band. Now, I hope people get some idea what's going on and at least pick some of these ideas to check out. Maybe you will even enjoy some of these, what I call just horrible ones. And if not, well, don't blame me. You were warned. Thanks for watching the video. Should you have happy or negative thoughts, let them flow here and let me know how much I don't understand anything about music, because I already know that. Anyway, have a great day and see you soon with more reviews coming your way.